mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.
What's up, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ride the Rebellion podcast, the podcast that's the Seinfeld of podcasting. With me today, he didn't even react. With me today is the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, the guy who will tell the story of why he's now contractually obligated to only drink Mountain Dew, Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd GPS Management.
Oh man, rest in peace, their Crazy Town lead singer. Gave me butterflies.
Gosh. Well, we came out of the gate hot, folks.
I mean, he did die.
Yeah, he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah. I thought his music died in the 90s, but it's whatever.
That also happened. Also
was it the
dead.
90s? Wait,
No,
everything
it
to
was
me is.
thousands.
I was
It
going
was
to say,
thousands.
everything to me is from the 90s.
Yeah, well, Dale's stuck in the 90s. Maybe I should have retake that. The man, the myth, the legend, the king of the 90s, the guy who can't grow past 90. No, that's Jake. He's 94.
90s, yeah, 94, 95.
Yeah, somewhere in there. He can't get past it. Anyway, welcome back to the show. If you're the first time listening to this podcast, well, God bless it. You're in for a treat because we have nothing to talk about. So if you haven't listened to our previous our previous library, just head on over there and just find some episodes. There's lots of fun ones. I would suggest that you start with any episode featuring Nixon. And then if you're just going to listen to the podcast, I think the most audio valuable podcast you can listen to episode is Bug. Not Bug Rug, but just Bug.
Just Bug.
Yeah.
The podcasts are easy to find on YouTube too.
Yeah.
They are categorized as podcasts, and then the episodes are in there.
Yep.
So
So it's all there for you. There's other videos too. So shout out to our sponsors. In case you guys don't know, you're probably tired of hearing about it, but they sure aren't. That would be Summit Bike Academy, who appreciates it when anyone tells them, "Hey, I listened to or heard you on the podcast." So please make sure that even if you're not taking a class from them, you just walk up to Toby and just say, "Hey, I heard you on the podcast," and make sure that's basically like giving us a 5-star review. Not quite, but it's close. And so we appreciate that. But also, I've had multiple people now go up and take their bikes to get fixed by Jody at Build, Tune, Ride. It is testament for the quality of work that the guy does. If you've not contacted Jody for any reason, just any bike need, just blow them up. It's worth it. But also just consider the fact that next time you need to maybe get an upgrade. The Todd went through one. We talked about it a little bit. He put a coil spring kind of hybrid thing on his bike. And the great part was Jody helped install it, and then Jody sat there with him and they tested it and got it perfectly dialed in. That kind of customer service is epic. It's legendary and it's rare. So we're here telling you about Build, Tune, Ride, and they're there for you. So I highly suggest that if you head over to there. I'm going to save Run and Try for a minute because they're going to be part of our conversation today a little bit. So we'll talk about them some, but also if you have not gotten your free tattoo, head over to I'm just kidding. If you can find Kevin Black, you may receive a free tattoo.
Right now, he's pretty easy to catch too.
Oh no!
I just talked to him the other day, so
Yeah. No,
he's doing good.
That's good.
Just watch out for any 3-wheeled bicycles cruising through Fairhope, Alabama.
Is that what he's riding on?
Yeah, he sent me videos
Oh dear Lord.
of the dogs actually pulling him on this bicycle.
That is
three-wheeler.
fantastic.
Yeah,
But
pretty
seriously, if you do need a tattoo at some point in your life, you decide to go down that path and get inked. I actually genuinely can suggest Kevin, not just because he's a friend of the show and whatever, part of the Rev, but the guy legitimately, you're not just going to probably walk in there and get a tattoo. You're going to have to schedule it because he's so busy, and his team, he's got 2 other guys that I think work with him, but they're all top tier. So it's going to take you a minute. So be prepared for that part of the process. But if you haven't headed over there, or if you're thinking about a tattoo, consider Kevin Black on that side of things. Also, what Dale doesn't know, I'm experimenting. I've started roasting coffee. We used to have a coffee sponsor. They're out of the coffee game. I'm bringing it back because I drink a lot of coffee. I think pre-ride coffee is awesome. I enjoy it. And so we're going to roll out a very small sample. You'll have to wait for it on social media when it happens because these are literally hand roasted by me and it takes time to do this. I don't have a big volume roaster, but we're going to roll out a new type of coffee we're calling Reb Roast. The first version of that is called 1989. Yes, it is a Taylor Swift reference. No, it will not make your hormones change if you drink it. However, it is a very, very, very good cup of coffee, and we're going to roll that out. It's not anything reason why, then I just want to get my coffee out there because it's fun to roast coffee. We're going to come out with a blend, even though Dale doesn't really drink coffee, but frou-frou shit.
Oh, it's gonna be caramel stuff, caramel
You're
mocha
not going to be
poppy dippity.
no. We are going to eventually roll out the Turn Down King blend. I'm working on that right now. That'll be our second roast coming out, but we're going to get this first one done first. And then when this one rolls out, maybe we'll throw in some bonus stickers if anybody buys. It'll be extremely limited supply. And the only thing I ask, it's not super expensive either. I'm just going to ask for your feedback if you're a coffee snob. It is whole bean only. I ain't grinding all that shit for you. You can go to your local grocery store and get it ground yourself. But it will be that, and it'll be available here shortly. Pretty cheap. I don't know the price yet, but it'll be cheaper than you can get a regular bag of coffee because I ain't going to charge you for something if it's gross. I don't think it's gross, but maybe you do. All right. Now, with all that said, a couple things to keep in mind. It is summertime, and we've already been sweating through jerseys like, I was going to say hookers in church, but you can't really.
Nah.
They shouldn't sweat in church. It's
It's hotter
not the
than
place for them to sweat.
Hotter than two rats effing in a wool sock during a forest fire.
Okay, there he is.
That's pretty hot.
That's where we are. The entire nation is going through this. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today with Dale and his experiences, both on endurance, not just endurance riding, but just riding in general, having come from the north, now a transplant to the south. And then also just in general, I just was going to talk a little bit about hydration because I think it's an overlooked conversation. And there's some interesting studies and information I was just going to share along with that. But with that said, do you or how much water do you drink pre-ride? Do you do any kind of pre-ride consumption?
No, and I'm literally the worst.
That's why I wanted to have you on the show.
Hydration, stretching, like everything necessary to keep my fitness level the way it is. I'm the worst at it. But I have recently, my new bike doesn't have a water bottle holder.
Because you're against water bottle holders now?
No.
It's a new trend.
Because
here first. No.
Yeah.
Throw those water. It's like bra burning. Let's burn our water bottles and just all die of dehydration.
I think it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, you ride XC, you have a water bottle. Yeah. I'm an enduro bro. I don't have a water bottle. I don't need it.
I'll drink water at the bottom of the mountain.
So stupid.
When I'm dead.
Like, we don't need to be categorized. But I think, no, I have to order a special water bottle. So it's been
like one of those teeny ones, like a half person bottle.
No, Common Cell worked with whatever company, Fidlock, to develop a special one just for this bike so that it could fit a bigger shock and a bigger water bottle. And
so what you're saying is they marketed yeah, you got Pokemon is what it is. We call that Pokemoning.
Yeah, so now I'm just waiting because I don't want to spend $60. Well, the water bottle with the Fidlock is $50 plus $25 for shipping.
Yeah.
Well, our good friends Mint Julius,
yeah,
flies all over the world.
Yeah,
is going to Boulder, and he's just going to snag one for me at Common Cell while he's there.
Sick.
That's so perfect. It saved me $25. But anyway, back to the water thing. I don't, and I have used during a long endurance race, I use Garmin's water advisor.
Yeah, I've never used that.
It tells you when to drink.
Well, hold on though. Let me backtrack this because you did that race twice.
Yeah,
you're talking about
the second
the Bull Gap.
Yeah, Skyway Epic.
Skyway Epic. Thank you. You did it twice. The first time you did not use the water meter.
Correct.
And you cramped like a mofo.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk through that bit.
So what Garmin actually is super smart about, like, so my computer would actually use how far I've gone, how much climbing I've done, and what time I've been doing it in, like pace and everything, and my heart rate. I think it uses it all, but it would sometimes it'd be 5 minutes.
Temperature, I think.
Yeah, temperature does it all. So like sometimes it'd be 5 minutes, and then it'd be like beep drink. Sometimes it'd be 2 minutes, beep drink. Sometimes it'd be 15 minutes. It was just crazy. It worked out to be, I think I drank 6 bottles of water. 8 bottles of water, I guess.
Bike bottles, by the way.
Yeah, bike bottles.
Yeah, I don't know the exact size.
I don't know the exact size either. I just know I was trying to time it between. It worked out to be perfect for the stops. Like I could refill 2 bottles, and then keep going. In every bottle, I did have tailwind, and some, and scratch, and some. So that kind of stuff when you're doing that. And this time of year, I think, like you said, we'll talk about run and try, but I think you need it, like just extra any bumps you can get.
So I rode with Dirty Uncle Chase up in Birmingham, and I rode one portion of it. I rode Friday by myself, and it was midday, top of heat, because we got there, we left, and we got there at like 1. And so I'm on the bike and like going into the hottest part of the day.
Yeah.
And even in the shade, it was cooler, but that's also because the sweat is evaporating from your body and you don't realize it. But even though you're riding, you may not be thirsty. It's because you're depleting so much. And so I had a Camelback on, and because I didn't know what I was getting into. And again, riding by myself, I get a little more a little more cautious. Had a Camelback and had a water bottle. In my water bottle I started using, well, it was either salt or liquid IV or one of those two. And then in my Camelback was straight water. So that way, like I'm going back and forth a little bit. But I'd also picked up these little salt tabs.
Yeah,
And they're weird, but the ones I got are flavored, so they're not quite as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing to me is I can tell mid-ride if I take one of those and I just pop it in my mouth like a lozenge or whatever, and I just suck on it. I can tell that like mid-ride when it stops tasting sweet and it starts tasting salty only, that I'm in trouble. Like I'm like, oh boy, I'm a little low on that. And so up there, I made sure to do that. And when I got done, I was low on water. I was completely out of my other hydration. And so I came across a piece to talk about this. It was interesting. I came across some studies, sports research, and they were talking about the idea that with water, for every hour that you're riding, you should drink one bike bottle worth of water. And they showed the smaller, but the more standard specialized bottle that we all have. There's like a term for it.
I don't know what the
but it's one of those bottles per hour is what you should consume.
works out.
And then I think if you're in a humid environment, like most of us at this point in the summer, especially down here, I think putting an additive in is something that makes a difference. I physically can feel a difference of when that sugar hits my system. Not only do you get a little glycol bump or whatever, but you also get like the idea of just the electrolytes going back in. And then finally, somebody who's got kidney stone issues or whatever, dehydration is like the devil, makes it worse. So I try and chug a lot. When you did you have Tailwind both times, or did you have supplements in your water bottles both times on those big long rides?
Yeah, both times I did. Yeah. And I did another long race called Fool's Gold. And
I forgot about that.
Oh God. That race was zero fun too. But actually, the single track for Fool's Gold is amazing. It's really, really fun. It's really like it's like an enduro race in the middle of an endurance race. It's really crazy. The course is pretty gnarly. But anyway, Aaron from Run and Try had a bunch of like, I was worried about cramping naturally because I've done it a lot. And I said, dude, I need some quick energy fixes, some quick cramp fix stuff. And he's like, oh, dude, just take this. You know, it's expired. You'll be okay. And I was like, okay. I just threw it in my pouch, took off. So like I'm racing and I felt a little tinge of a cramp coming on climbing. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to grab one and chug it. And I chugged it and it was coffee flavored pickle juice.
No.
Oh my gosh. It was just like a 5-hour energy drink bottle size. But I chugged it and I just remember like, do I throw up or do I just keep like, I'm trying to not like drink a bunch of water. I'm in the middle of a race, like still going, like try not to drink water, and I don't like coffee. So I was like, and pickle juice is just disgusting. It was like the most disgusting thing. So I just remember now I look at all the labels because that was terrible.
Yeah, I think that I've tried the pickle juice thing. It wasn't for me. At one point when I was trying to do keto and diet real heavy, I was making my own quote salt or element or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And I was just basically adding some salt and some other stuff to water, and it was okay, but it was a pain in the ass and wasn't worth it. I still like the element stuff. I think it's good, but frankly, I've learned now that because I'm more glucose optimized, I want the sugar. Like my body's like, dude, don't starve me of what you need.
That's what they have at races. Like they'll have Cokes for you. They'll have Twizzlers and things like that. That's why I said I always joke because I had jelly beans in my pouch.
Yeah.
Like I literally ate jelly bean Skittles the whole time.
Right.
I mean, it's just, I mean, you're losing all of it. I have noticed this though. You see if you haven't felt this because I do it in the summer more than in the winter, but like I'm running a lot now too. And so I think it's hydration. It has to be, but I'll stand up and feel lightheaded a lot.
Yep. 100%.
Like in the summer more.
Yep.
To the point where the other night I got up to go to the bathroom and get a drink in the middle of the night and like stumbled down the hallway. Like thought I was going to pass out. Like, and I have passed out once right before I was taking the kids to school one day. My wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably not drinking enough water. But it's like, I know what's causing it. But is it like that for you too?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes if I'm not as hydrated and I do I am more prone to lightheadedness without water in my system.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did this the other night, we rode Tuesday night together. And I don't do a lot of the group rides anymore because I'm a snob, but I'm just kidding. I just don't like getting home that late, but I did one of the group rides and I had I drank before riding. I drank 32 ounces of water.
Oh yeah.
And not only did my recovery the next day was better, But because I preloaded that water in, like we only rode an hour, right? And so I'd sip on my water bottle some. I hit those salt taps. I had 2 of those, but like my recovery was much better. And I think that's part of it. Is the harder part is like you drink water throughout the day, in fairness. I mean, right now you're not, because you're under obligation to only drink Mountain Dew Code Zero or some shite on the show. But I have found that by getting one of those water bottles, and I kind of copied Dale. Dale had a big one with stickers on it, and then I was just like, hey, great idea. I did the same thing. Now I have 2 of them. I keep one at home and one that travels. I try and drink 2 of those a day. If I'm going to ride, I add a third.
Yeah.
And that has made it, and it's not hard. There's other ways around that. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. A lot of times people go directly to, well, I don't like the taste of water. Okay, fine, great. But like there's this cocaine called Crystal Light that you can buy in bulk. Be careful, because sometimes when you buy the multi-packs, there's one with caffeine. Made that mistake at night, didn't sleep. But like, even if you just add that to it, the water is still going to come through your system. It's not like the Crystal Light is blocking hydration, right? So if you don't love the flavor of water, or you wanted some flavor to help you encourage to drink more, and you don't want the sugar, then consider something like that, or whatever you got to do. But it's one of those challenges that runs through, because the worry I have is as hard as we ride sometimes, like it doesn't matter where we are. If you get stuck in it, you're kind of trapped in it.
Oh, dude, the perpetual cramps.
Remember, Auburn is a prime example.
Oh,
Paul literally nearly died. I mean, he was.
And I was drinking that day.
I know
water, and I don't even know what happened. I just fell out. It was must have been a combination.
That heat was oppressive.
Yeah, it was bad.
We've talked about that before, but we literally had to put Dale in a creek. Like, he was so overheated. They were like, get in the water, and like we had to cool him off. But he fell out, and you saw it firsthand. But what was weird is Dale was the most fit rider there, and it was me and then Todd Hall, and Todd's a bigger fellow. Neither one of us had that issue as much.
We had all ridden the same thing.
We all ridden the same.
It's crazy.
It's just one of those things, like you never know what's going to happen. And I think I think it's overlooked, because I get it. This is a podcast. That's a boring topic.
Yeah.
But
well, we are of age, and our listeners mostly are too. Like we just go do things.
Yeah.
Like we don't pre-plan that often. We don't overthink things. But now it's like we have these talks a lot. You and I are in our friend group of like, dude, do you guys ever have this pain here or that pain there? Or it's like we're getting older. Like we have to figure out ways to optimize our equipment, and our body is a part of our equipment.
And our equipment.
Yeah.
And that's why our new sponsor, Blue Chew. Just kidding. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would have been the greatest segue in the history of segues. Yeah, but to your point, I think one of the other things that some things that are talked about, and I think it's an interesting. So I'm going to ask this, and Dale Boyd, and send hate mail to Dale Boyd at. I'm just kidding. But one of the things is, like, if you're going on a longer ride, sometimes water bottles go against the Dale Boyd rule of cool, because.
Well, that's what I was getting at. My bike can't hold a bottle right now, so I don't have any.
Right.
So I've been riding without a bottle, and it's death. I hate it.
Well, like, what I was going to say, there was 2 bottles, and then you start. See? And then let's get live reaction, folks. What is your take on someone wearing a Camelback?
Dude, go home. Listen, they have pouches now. You can put them in your pouches. A back thing is too much. It's heavy. It's going to make you sweat. And if you don't flip it over and suck the air out, and I have to hear the water sloshing around the whole ride, I'm going to punch somebody.
There's like rules. Stay cool with that.
No, listen, if a back thing is what makes you feel comfortable, that's cool. But at least put one of those like pull for parachute things on it or something. Like I did, trust me. I wore them when I first started, because I thought. But in all honesty, the hip pouches are better. Like I can carry just as much water.
Yeah.
I don't need to carry that much water on my back. You don't need that much water. You're not going that far. But like I can, what I do, if I need 2 bottles, I put one on my bike, and the kind pouch has one, and then I can have tools or chews in it or whatever I need. And my phone fits in there, everything. It's really nice. It's not that big, and you don't feel it at all.
Yeah. I have that, because we did a job where, what is the name of that company that makes that? They make the no move harness. I forget who it is. X-Frame. Somebody. They're a popular brand, but it's like the orange and gray color. And we had that because on the USM shoot, we were carrying, like, we were using it because we had strapped a helmet on a student's head with a camera that's their POV, but we had to mount the monitor and other equipment on their. So I just bought one of those, and I rode in it. I had to ride with it in Birmingham. because I didn't have anything else. But I'll tell you, like, I do have a fanny pack, and it does make it 10 times easier to have a pack. The only downside is you don't want to get chintzy. You
No,
actually
buy a
need to
good
buy
one.
a good pack,
Mhm.
because when it starts sliding down and you're hitting something, and you hear "Brrrp," or worst case, a horror story from Jake Noble's world of Jakey Poo Insanity. He had a guy and it rolled under and it ripped him off the back. And so he tells that story often to me because that guy just, I don't,
Does
he has
Jake have a
death.
water bottle?
No.
I've never seen him drink water. Now that I think about it,
No.
I guess you don't need to drink water when you're walking half the time.
Oh my God, the shade has been thrown. I was going to say when you're only half the size.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Well, hobbit biking.
Yeah, what I did was to weigh my bike down. I actually drilled a hole and filled it with water and have a straw that comes out of the base of it.
That's a good
And
idea.
I just slurp it out. It is interesting to me because I do think that again, as I said earlier, we often overlook that stuff. And sometimes we get caught up in like, what's the cool factor and all those kind of things. But I will say that having tested both water and supplement water, I've found that for me personally, and you can do this test very easily, you will go ride a lap or go ride half your ride without, just drink straight water, see how you feel, and then add your supplement to it. And when you suddenly if you feel that energy boost, then imagine having that the entire ride and not just portion of the ride. Another thing that's interesting is our average listener is in the 30 to 50 something range, and the amount of water in your body decreases over time, right? So people above a certain age, it's only 50% water. So they're more likely to get dehydrated. Well, our age range is 60% water is what we're at. So we're more likely to have damaging effects of dehydration. So it's just something to be mindful of. And the idea of like, if you're under 30, yeah, good, you're at 70 or 80%. So
Mine was mostly alcohol back then.
yeah, I was about to say beer counts. But making sure you do that. And then also consider the fact of like, before you hit that post ride beer, you might want to drink some more water post ride, because that beer will actually dehydrate you more. And if you're going to do a bunch of post ride beers, like an F&L side of things, that hangover is going to be 5 times worse when you wake up from, or what were we drinking? Four Loko?
Oh God, Four Loko pregame.
Somebody brought some Four Loko.
That was like mouthwash in a little bottle.
It was disgusting. And that'll dehydrate you in seconds.
Well, that's a good thing about F&L is you don't want to be out late. We ride at 6, we're done by 8, and everybody's drunk by 8:15 because they got no water in their body.
It's fair enough.
It's like, oh wow,
not advisable.
yeah. What happened? Why did everybody go 0 to 60 real quick?
Yeah, right. Because they're chugging beers like crazy. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about on it. The other thing I was gonna just go over in general is just the summertime ride stuff, the season for us. And I know a lot of our listeners now are not necessarily in the same side of it as we are, but a lot of our listeners are, their weather isn't so bad. We have to actually consider the time in which we go ride. Those midday rides are literally asking for more damage than it's worth. And one of the things about considering that is our UV index is different all the time. And I know this sounds like a broken record episode of a podcast, but listen, we haven't been sweating enough to have our annual bitch fest. That usually is August, I think. But I will say, I've had 2 friends, like close people in my life, Uncle Bobby, and then another uncle type character, that both have ended up with a little bit of melanoma. And my point in bringing that up is, I know that sunscreen is not fun. It's definitely not fun around a bike because it can slick stuff up, but a legit thing to consider if you're going to be exposed in the sun. Do you have a take on that?
No,
You don't use it.
I don't.
Yeah, you tan.
My Indian blood.
Yeah, you tan.
Saved me.
Bitch. Well, if you're a pasty Jew, then
my kids, my son is like a neon glowing. The other night we went swimming in dark after his baseball. In dark, in the dark times. And he gets out of the car and he's like, "Mom, I can't go." She was like, "Why?" He goes, "I forgot my moon screen. Like I'm literally going to get burnt from the moon."
Oh my God.
I'm like, wow, that was pretty good. Pretty good. I was proud of it.
No, it's a legit thing. It's just something to consider. It's like, hey, maybe consider the idea. I know it's all stuff that is not fun to talk about. It's not shreddy, bro. But at the end of the day, like,
we're not mountain bikers. We're just living our lives. Like the expert advice that we just gave you on hydration is literally not expert advice.
No, it's true.
Like it's just it's actually all it is a reminder. Like, hey, shit, I forgot to fill up an extra water bottle today. Yeah. Hopefully that helps at least 2 people.
Yeah,
2 of our 4 listeners.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, the other side of it too is like, again, it's an excuse to buy some cool gear. Go find You like the Decline
yeah, the
bag.
kind stuff is really
I have a
nice.
topo bag that's good, but I would not suggest it for riding, just because it doesn't have the anti-slip type stuff. I think Christabel rides with a Osprey
Yeah,
that has
Osprey's
the
nice.
non-slip stuff. I would just go look at
The
it.
kind stuff is sweet because it has like a mesh thing in the back that absorbs the sweat, so it doesn't feel like it's soaking wet and
Oh, that's
weighing you
good.
down too,
That's
which is
really good.
pretty sweet. I wear it on set a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, it's my set pouch now.
Yeah.
But it's just nice. You can fit so much stuff, so many activities in there.
Yeah. No, I mean,
And they got different sizes, obviously.
I think it's important. It's like anything else. That said, some of the stuff that we're excited about is like taking the podcast to some way. So changing subjects abruptly, which is the name of the new podcast.
No more health.
Yeah. But one of the things we're excited about is a couple of and we'll give a small preview now, but a couple of new ideas we're bringing to the show. One of those is called Trail Tales. We started these a long time ago. They used to be videos on our YouTube channel. You can go see some old ones where we talk to somebody who built a trail, or we tell the story behind a trail, like the origin of it. And so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. And then we have somebody coming on, if we can get everything lined up, hopefully, fingers crossed, that has an understanding of bike equipment that is extremely unique. They have a degree in, or doctorate, I think, in kinesiology. Yeah, he's a doctor of kinesiology. We had a very good conversation. I don't know how far we can get into it with him, but we had a great conversation about helmets. And I know that sounds nuts, but like,
no, he's the leading expert
on helmet. Like, the guy shattered our brains.
Yeah.
Like, it was amazing. So we're excited to talk about it because there's some stuff in there that, depending on what he's allowed to say, on and off camera,
he will be an expert. We will not. He will be an expert.
Yeah, we'll have a legit expert on.
That'll be the
like
first
a doctor
legit
for the first time ever. Yeah. I'm sure.
No, we have second. Gerard's a doctor.
Right. Gerard's a doctor as well, but not a. He's a specific type of doctor.
No shade, Gerard. Gerard's a doctor.
No, he has a doc. Yes,
he has a doctorate.
Yeah, he's a doctorate doctor. But if we do a business of bike podcasting again, that's who we should have been talking to.
Yeah.
We need to have Toby and Gerard on, and they talk about the business of bikes.
Wow. I'm not, that'll be over my head. I'll just be like, hey guys, you guys ever had any Mountain Dew?
Dale Boyd plays dumb. That's his little gimmick, by the way. He's an opossum. But I am going to do this real quick. So a preview of what that Tail Trails would be like is I'm actually going to interview Dale, who built a trail called Primal, and just talk about it. But in general, we've not really gone through that, because I think the interesting side of building the trail, and then we'll talk about where the name came from, but the building the trail and that side of things is somewhat different. It's maybe the premier trail, and I'm saying this, the other people might disagree, but I'm saying it's the premier trail at the Reb. If you've ridden there, it is a black line, if you will, but it has a gap and some other features that are sketchy and janky. But it is the premier on that side of it. What was the impetus for that trail, aside from that kind of stuff? Because we've not really ever talked about that trail before.
No, so that trail was it's on an area of land that we had been kind of going around. And I noticed it when I was cutting another trail, and I was like, I think I have a video, and I think I told you I have a video from quite a while ago, like when we first started building out there. I walked this whole line, and I videoed myself walking it so I could find it again in between these pine trees and stuff. And those of you that have ridden it at the Reb, it's very narrow.
Yeah.
Like but it's purposely narrow. Like that to me is our tech, right? Like our tech is like, oh, you have to be able to handle the bike to get through things, not over things, in a lot of cases. And I think that this trail to me was just like, we could have something that's like a slalom course kind of, but it's something we don't have. And it was my skills of trail building had to catch up with the idea, right? Like I wasn't good enough to build it when we first. I'm not that I am now, but I think that the idea or the layout is better than it would have been had I built it at the beginning.
But it's even adapted. But how true to the original vision is it? Not in terms of features, but in terms of the line. Because I think sometimes when people might go out and want to build a trail, they don't. If you're a novice trail builder, you may not have understood you don't just start building features. You lay out a line. How true to the line is that trail now?
So that trail is pretty close, actually. There were some obstacles I had to face. There's a tree down, and that tree was there when I videoed. And that tree, I wanted it to be part of the trail, and I've tried to keep it a part of the trail, even through the evolution of the trail. And it still is. Somehow it made the cut.
Yeah.
It almost got cut out So
I'm so glad you didn't.
big shout out to Pat, because Pat's helped me talk me off the ledge a few times, or helped me fight through some things. Him and I have kind of built the trail together to a certain extent. I mean, I've done a lot myself, or the idea, but um, he has helped me do some of the development of things. But that tree has been like was kind of the focal point, or the jumping off point, if you will. And it's literally in two corners. So that was the idea, was that I've never been anywhere that there's a tree in a corner. And it's a big tree that you have
Yeah.
to ride over. So at first we just built wood over it. You know, it was like an awkward, like, this doesn't even make sense, like a wood ramp over and a ramp down. And now it has a huge swooping berm into it, dirt on it, that jumps into another berm that goes the opposite way over the tree. So I don't know, is that, to me, was like, how is this going to work? But now it just works. I don't know how it works. It just works.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, on that piece, when he, I mean, I never minded rolling up over the wood side. It just, to his point, it would slow you down. Like,
Yeah.
I would go up and then I'd pump back down the other side to get my speed back, and then I would be like, if I didn't hit it perfect, I was a little offset, and I don't have the skill to recover as fast as some of the other riders do. And so now what he has is, when you hit it, even if you're a layman like me, you hit it and you come up on that turn, and if you just pick up, and it's taught me a new skill set. Like, I just jump and I turn my bike in there and I land and compress and I slingshot out, and that's 10 times more fun than rolling up some wooden thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
So back to the point though,
Yeah.
like, this trail to me is special because it's as fun to ride slow as it is fast.
Yep.
And so I even slow down on it sometimes, just to do things that I can't do when I'm going fast on it. There's rollers, and there's other berms, and we can talk further about that. But it's kind of it's unique in that regard. Like, fast is slow, and slow is fast, and fast is fun.
It
and
rides
so is
different.
slow. Yeah,
That's
it's
what makes
totally
it
different.
unique.
It's so fun.
Like some of the other trails I've ridden that are built in, not on our property, but in other places, they're ridden for trail speed, but the trail speed is quick. There's one builder that we have that his stuff is sprint. It's all sprint speed. So it's kind of nice to have something where literally every rider has a chance to get it. Not to say that every rider can hit that trail, because that gap jump is intimidating. And for a lot of people, it was like a little bit of a mind fuck. To use the strong word, but it's legit. Like, you see people roll up on it and they
still do. Yeah.
and you hear them brake stop.
That was
What
the
made you decide to put that gap there? What was that whole thing?
Actually, that was the straightest part of the trail, and towards the bottom, but that's was the first thing we built on the trail. So the idea was, and I've said it 1,000 times, so if you're friends with me, you've heard me say it, is like, I like to cut a trail, and then the trail's a baby. It's an infant. I like the trail to develop its own personality along the way. Like, I didn't plan for any features in any certain spot. I just wanted the trail to, like, and all we have the advantage because we have a private place that only we ride. And so we have time to let the trail develop a personality and figure out what works here and what works there. But to me, like, that was the best part, was watching that trail grow. Because remember, like, the gap jump was first, and the gap jump is further down. There's no berms to hit it. Everything's a flat corner all the way to it. And everybody's like, oh my God, this thing's ridiculous. It comes out like literally your shoulder width pine trees through a rooty drop through into a gap jump. Like, you have to be ready for it, or it's not easy to hit.
Well, one good thing about the trees though is, like, as you come around, because there's a berm right before it now, as you come around this berm, you see the trees and your brain goes, okay, noticed. But then as you kind of line up on the trees, the next thing you see is that gap jump. So you're lining up naturally. And that's what I thought was a very clever build, is that, yes, the trees are there. The tension is there from the trees, like the oh boy, but it's never overwhelming, because you're like, okay, I'm already on, because you should be looking down trail anyway.
Right.
So now you're looking down and you're like, oh, I'm going to hit this gap. And now that it's routine, I have to be careful, because anytime something's too routine is when the danger happens.
For it.
But like, it's one of those ones. I had something go wrong on I don't remember if I was following somebody, but somebody didn't have quite the speed, and I was forced to case. But it was okay. But then normally when I ride it, even solo, like, I have a certain send point and I just hit it and I know where I'm going and it's fun. But
Well, for us, when we say gap jump, we understand that there's big giant gaps.
that is correct.
We know Jared's place and other places have some mammoth gaps.
Right.
To us, it's like I don't know, a bike and a half length gap, right? Maybe something like that. and it's not overwhelming, but for us it was like the first one, that natural gap jump that we had. And it's not, the lip isn't even lippy, like it just kind of floats you off of
Yep.
it. But the gap was built with timber, so it's actually like framed in, so you have, there's, I mean, you have to clear it. But for us it was like the first, like, again, we're 40-year-old dudes like trying to push the limit every week, so like it's a big thing for a lot of people to hit. And I love the smile on their face, like when somebody hits it for the first time, or you hear them yell through the woods, and you're like, please tell me that was a good yell. But
Yeah.
it's a cool feeling. And now that the trail has developed into something that everybody can kind of ride and hit, it makes it a even better, even more fun.
I think so too. So, um, uh, two more questions on this side of things.
Yeah.
One, and this one, not planned, but I am curious.
Mhm.
So, you built a trail that's safe for the most part. It's mountain biking is not totally there. It is claimed a collarbone. How did that feel?
Yeah,
Like, what
not
is that?
just collarbone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody's ribs too.
Yeah,
So
ribs,
shout out to Frank.
collarbone, my bike,
Yeah.
my leg.
Yeah, there's a high cost on that
It's a,
trail.
got a lot of bodies on
How
it.
does that how does it feel when it's not your personal property? What was that like when you're like, well, I mean, what is the process that goes through your mind?
So, first of all, I wanna make sure they're okay, of course, because 'cause
Yeah.
they're my friends. But secondly, to me, it makes me like, "Oh, yeah, we're pushing the limits of what we were used to."
Yeah.
You know, like, the things that, and they're pushing their progression, like, they wanna get better to ride something differently. There's 2 sections of small rollers on this trail. They're easily rollable, but you can double them, and that was one of the doubles. Oh, both of them. The
Yeah.
doubles got both guys, different types of riding, but, um to me, I mean, as long as they're not really hurt. I mean, John's really hurt, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy they get back up, and that trail is, to the excitement that other people see, that once you see how happy people are after they ride it, it's like, oh man, I want to be able to ride it like that. So
Yeah.
I think people are pushing their limits a little bit.
I'm just curious because it happened like in
It
real
is,
time,
yeah. I don't
and
want somebody to get hurt, but
it was a freak accident too. John was not doing anything
yeah.
crazy. It went sideways. It's kind of like the infamous ride at Bug Rug when somebody fell and broke a bone.
Mhm.
That happened, and there was no danger riding. It was
Right.
just riding. It just happened. But then I look at some of the other stuff of like, some of the I was riding with Barry Page, who's extremely good, like Windrock rider. Like Barry's legit, guys. Like he's one of those.
Nice. Yeah.
And I tapped a tree with my handlebars and just flew off the trail. And he's like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, I'm not gonna be mad at. I built that trail. I can't be mad at myself or
Mhm.
anybody else. I did that stuff, but just kind of curious.
Yeah,
That's one.
and I hope that, like, no one ever feels mad at somebody for a trail they built. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, we're not building something to hurt somebody. We're building something to raise the height and the fun. Well, guess what happens? That makes it harder. And
Yeah.
when it makes it harder, then consequences happen. And
Yep.
that, to me, if it was so sanitized that no one's getting hurt on it, then that means it's like, well, where's the risk? And then my adrenaline doesn't hit.
And I interestingly, I think that is where that rub of XC versus enduro happens so much, is that like the XC side, like the mentality is the XC, at least in our culture, the XC that rides here, they don't ride anything with that stuff in it.
Mm-mm.
My XC loop, our XC loop has primal in it. You've got to
Yeah.
hit the gas. So if you're going to maintain the XC speed that you want, because you're just doing a cross country lap, you're going to have to know how to ride gnarly stuff. But it brought me to the same thing with that race in wherever it was in Switzerland or wherever it is, this last XC round where these, like, that was legit and it was
Mhm.
dangerous. And there was people falling over the place. So it doesn't always have to
Hey,
be.
listen, I will finally give somebody an underwear mad props, because you guys, those rock guards with no full face helmets on, and there's lycra, like, that's insane. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Never.
it was legit.
Like, I don't do that at Oak Mountain.
Right, but it's scary enough to, like, you're pushing the boundaries of
Yeah.
the XC side. All right, well, I just thought it was interesting. Last question I had for you is, where does the name actually come from?
So we had no, like, building trails is naming them, to me, is the best part.
Yeah.
Like, I love the stories that you get while you're building the trail that come up, or like a podcast you listen to, or just somebody says something stupid and it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely the name. Well, this area where this trail's built, Pat has donned Wolf Ridge. It's a ridge line. And so everything over there has kind of got an animal vibe to it. So this kind of worked. Um, we're cutting the trail, and Pat's French Bulldog is wearing a Supreme hoodie, like Supreme clothing brand hoodie. naturally. Okay, this French, imagine, so picture a brindle French bulldog with a Supreme hoodie on in the woods with us.
He bougie booed.
And I'm swinging an axe and I hit a tree, and then all of a sudden the dog goes to chase the axe and latches onto the back of my leg instead of the axe.
Oh
And
dear
then
Lord.
so then I'm like, "Oh my god, the dog," and then he jumps off. Well, then there's blood just dripping down my leg. And I jokingly told Pat, I was like, "Well, sorry for your dog. He's going back to his primal instincts now that he's tasted blood."
Yeah.
And so the logo of the trail is a French bulldog with like blood, or does he have blood or devil
Devil
horns?
horns.
He has
Devil
devil
horns.
horns. Yeah,
Yeah.
the first iteration had blood coming out, but yeah, so devil horns on his little stupid French bulldog. And
Yeah.
now every time I see that dog, like he was out Friday night, and I'm like, "You little bastard."
And it's funny because that's like that dog hates Dale, and then Justin's dog
Yeah,
hates the Todd, and it's just one of
yeah.
those things. So
Justin probably goes home and tells the dog how mad he is at Todd.
yeah, he just complains to
The
it. That's
dog
what
knows.
the dog knows.
The dog knows the truth.
Yeah, so that's just a short one, but that's like a trail tale type vibe. And we have
I
two more
hope
of
that
those.
through the trail tail stuff, like you guys can feel the emotion that we get. Like it truly, like we've talked about it here in bits and pieces, but like to me, building a trail is emotional. Like
Yeah.
there's an emotional connection you have. You've blood, sweat, tears have all gone into building a trail, and to me, like I've come to the like appreciate some of the other dudes that have built trails before me or laid them out. Granted, listen, everywhere you go, and I get so tired of this is one of my pet peeves in mountain biking. Don't tell me who built the trail. I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to pay homage to Billy Stevens loop. Like
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
Like okay, Billy Stevens, great job, thank you.
Yep.
We're moving on.
Right.
Don't tell me that you used to cut trails with Billy Stevens, and sorry if there's a Billy Stevens listening, but
Yeah. Yeah.
don't tell me about how I should like bow down to this dude that's not around anymore, because like the idea of I want somebody to take what I did and keep going with it and make it better.
Yep.
Now we get caught up in this like, well, you can't change that. Billy Stevens built that back in 47.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Like I want somebody to take what I would love if somebody took Primal and just made it massive. But I can't even ride it. That
Right.
makes me happy.
Right.
Like I want stuff. It's called progression, people.
Yeah.
Like be happy with progression. So there's my soapbox for the day. But
No, I think it's a good point. I think it's interesting. Um, I, Same thing. I get the whole idea behind it. If I'm riding a trail with someone who knows that I enjoy trail building, like again with Dirty Uncle Chase in Birmingham, I was asking him when were these built. I didn't care who, but when. And I know that there's names of like, oh, Preston built this, and Preston's good. Don't get me wrong, Preston's a great builder, but like, I was more concerned with like how long ago was this built because it feels modern, and if it's 20 years ago, that is not modern.
that's why Oak Mountain was the epic trail.
Right. Yeah, somebody smashed it. So there's things like that that I think have a lot of value. I also wanted to shout out as an influence for us. I don't we talk a lot about we can ride wet trails because we are very fortunate the majority of our trails are sand, so the water just filters through, and frankly, it makes it more fun. You get a little grip out of it and you have a good time. But there are some places where that's not good, like Tails up in Birmingham. That's a lot of red dirt. Don't do it. But then there's a spot close to us, which has also been a very good influence on us, which is the guys, and you know all their names, but the guys over that built NFT at Muskogee. It's one trail over there. There's a trail system you can ride, but that one trail is you can literally see the labor of love going into a trail that is just brutal across the board. And if you ride it wet, you're a complete butthole.
And he, if his name's Shane, and shout out Shane and the 850 trail building crew. That's what they call themselves. But what they're doing is like a magical mix of like old school dudes building trails and new school style.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird dynamic. Some of the ladder bridges and stuff that they make is not stuff that we think about. You know,
Right.
it's just they're also carpenters, I think, so they have that carpentry mindset. Sorry, Shane, if I insulted the carpentry, but the carpentry is awesome. I think it's done really well, and just it has an old school flow to it, and it's pretty cool. It's a cool mix, and it's at Muskogee in Pensacola. I love it, but please, for the love of God, stop riding it when it's wet.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand why people have to go around. Like, come back another day. It's going to be there.
And I get it. It's like, I'm only here for 1 week. It's like,
Yeah.
well, welcome to mountain biking. Like, don't be that guy. I always check. I have a friend that rides in Ohio in Warren, Mr. Pickles, and he has to check he's not a member of any groups, but he goes and has to check all of his trail Facebook pages just to make sure. And even then he'll show up and he's like, yeah, too muddy. Because they have that free, not now, but they have the freeze thaw cycle and all that good stuff. And just be considerate. Same thing with the Huntsville trails.
Yeah.
Like, she's going to close those because they're going to be wet. Don't go smash them.
Yeah. Anything that's called a flow trail, just don't ride it.
Yeah.
If it's got jumps on it, don't ride it.
Yep.
Because first of all, you're not jumping them if it's muddy anyway.
Yep.
So just don't ride it. Just come back another day.
Yeah. It's a good excuse to get a second round of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we need to touch on?
No. Maybe the Mountain Dew thing.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Muskogee.
Yeah.
Actually.
Just because we dropped so many Easter eggs.
No, it was fun. So talk about that whole thing, because you guys, that was an interesting, I mean, even back in the Samba side of it, like, what's that whole deal?
Yeah, so we knew that IMBA chapters had applied for the Mountain Dew, I forget what it was called now, Chasing the Cooler, I think, or something like that. Cooler hide and seek or something. I forget what the actual Mountain Dew seeking cooler challenge, but they dropped it on the summer solstice.
Yeah. It was 50, right?
Yeah, there was. So the Mountain Dew, what the whole thing was, Mountain Dew selected 10 locations to put 5 coolers
across the United States,
across the whole United States. Well, Muskogee luckily got picked as one of those 10, and at noon they dropped to the location. So Pat and I were going to go ride Muskogee anyway that day, and so I was like, "Hey, let's go ride." I think at noon they might have a shot at getting a cooler, and so we had kind of a little bit of an insider knowledge there, but we had nothing to do, and it's on a Thursday, so it's summertime. Let's go. Well, we didn't know where or if it was really happening, so we're drinking Mountain Dew, listening to Limp Bizkit on the way there because we're 16-year-old children.
Oh Lord!
And we get there, and so let's move back just a little bit. We thought it dropped at noon. Well, the Mountain Dew was putting the GPS coordinates on the website at noon. Well, it was Eastern. So we're at 11. We're already in the car like, oh my God, they just did it. So now I was like, well, we probably won't get it now. Like, there's no way. So we pull up, and a couple guys in the parking lot are like, dude, there's still there. There's 2 there. You guys got the location. We followed the GPS and we found it. We got the last 2. So what we got were Engel coolers, backpack coolers. We both got one. And then $250 Visa gift card and 8-pack of Mountain Dew. So it was a pretty sweet little day to ride the NFT trail at Muskogee. It was awesome.
I mean, what a shining endorsement of, like, go to Muskogee, get a free cooler, $250. You got paid to ride. You were sponsored that day by
it was kind of weird though, because talking to some of Port people, Pensacola off-road cyclists, the Port guys like got picked, but Mountain Dew wouldn't let them promote it. So it was like a weird kind of like, don't you want us to be picked? Because we want to be able to promote our trails to get people to ride it. It was just an odd marketing thing, but it's Mountain Dew's world, man. We're all just living in it.
I mean, they got the money.
But so now we got the cooler ended up, it's like a $200 backpack cooler. So we got the cooler and Mountain Dew, and got to ride our bikes.
Yeah.
So, hey, there's only 50 coolers in the world. So,
yeah. I mean, that's kind of fun.
Awesome.
You can put them up on eBay.
I thought that. I was like, oh, I should put that on eBay.
See what you get for it. Yeah, so you never know. I don't even know how you found that, but good for you for finding it.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't know this was going on. Why didn't they do it on the weekend? It's like, man, you got to be tapped in.
Yeah.
You got to read those emails that you delete.
Yeah.
That's probably that's where I saw it. It was like an email that I got that reminded me about it. I was like, oh, okay, wait. So.
But we applied for it at our local chapter.
Yeah, our local chapter. Everybody had to send in their GPS coordinates.
Yeah.
We just didn't get picked.
They just looked at where it was.
Yeah, they're like,
yeah,
we'll take you to the middle of the woods. And
it's probably like cheaper to fly out of Pensacola. So like, perfect, Pensacola.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty sweet though.
Yeah, it's fun.
I got one last thing too. Shout out to another friend of the podcast, Pro Cycle in Fairhope. I think the thing came out. Katie and Joseph have been working super hard with the city of Fairhope about the triangle stuff. And they just finally announced it yesterday. They're starting to break ground, I guess.
Are they destroying all the kids' trails out of there? The illegal triangle trails? Do we know what's happening with those?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I know that phase 1 didn't have mountain bike trails in it, but on there, I read the article that came out. And I know that phase 2, maybe we need to have Katie on and let her tell about it. But phase 2 had mountain bike trails / mountain bike park in there. So I actually reached out to Katie and told her what they've done in Ruston would be about
Sick.
prototypically awesome for that place. Like
Oh my God.
space, time, continuum,
The whole thing.
the whole thing is
Yeah. Just another
about perfect.
waterfall. You don't even need the waterfall. But
You
the idea of the
yeah, right.
roll-in waterfall is pretty
just the hub idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should hook old Tobster up with him.
Yeah. Well, he knows how to do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you have any questions, comments, whatever, don't forget you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you've not joined the private Facebook group, that one's kind of fun too. I think we're probably going to drop the coffee in that one. It won't be a public link. We'll throw it in there if you're interested in that stuff. Again, that'll be limited to whatever I feel like telling Dale we're going to do, 5 or 6 bags, maybe 10. But I'll figure that out. And then the cost will be cheaper than you can buy regular coffee. You're gonna have to grind it yourself or go to the grocery store. So we'll do that stuff. And then everything else is pretty straightforward. Just keep in mind just to stay hydrated and don't kill yourself for no reason. And lastly, just remember what Dale Boyd says.
I drink Natty Light because it's got more water in it.
Oh my Lord. That'll do it.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. It's all hard, ain't no fear here.